The Ancients' World. Chapter 271, Splitting Up Again 2. The inn that we agreed to rent for the night is up ahead. They're already there and waiting for me. I'm betting Haley had to pay way more than she was comfortable with. I'm glad she isn't traveling alone, and I'm also glad that she has a magical beast to keep her company. Emerald, the green-striped tiger cub in her backpack, will mature into a powerful beast. One that'll be Haley's best friend. I see the inn up ahead, and I slowly make my way towards it. There are fewer and fewer players in the city of James as time goes on. All of us players are being forcefully removed or driven out. Tonight is our last night here. So it won't come to that for us. It's good that Haley has money cause I'm all out of gold. The next time I'm in a city, I'll need to stop by the bank to pick up my shares from the shop. They should have accumulated into large sums by now. I walk up to the inn's door, and I open them. Once inside, I'm greeted by many scowls and frowning faces. "You're not welcome here." Almost immediately, a drunk man at the bar begins talking to me. He is looking rough. His hair is all disheveled, and his face is covered by rough stubble. His eyes are red and puffy from crying. I ignore him and keep my hood up. I walk up to the counter of the bar, and the bartender is looking right at me. He, too, isn't pleased I'm here. There were 2 women who came in here earlier. They're my friends and I'm here to meet them. Can you tell me where they are? The bartender looks at me and has a sense of disgust about him. I'm a few inches taller than most people here, but that isn't intimidating the really disgruntled people. Before the bartender can tell me anything, the drunk middle-aged man next to me stands up and tries to shove me. To his and everyone's surprise, I don't budge, and he goes flying to the ground from the force bouncing back on him. I look at him, and I can't help but pity the man. He probably lost loved ones, a wife, a child. Maybe both. He gets up in a fury and pulls a dagger out. Nobody is going to stop him cause they, on some level, agree with his actions. Rah! He lunges at me and tries to stab me in the heart. The blade immediately shatters as it can't break through my defense and skin. He drops the handle and looks at me in rage. He's intent on hurting me. The most desperate act is next. He sees my blade in its sheath and grabs the handle. As soon as she does, he has a look of doom on his face, and he faces to his knees. The witness has a strange effect on people who are weak or not me. I watch the man wet his pants, and a horrid smell comes through the bar. He shit himself too. The witness didn't take too kindly to being touched. I look down at the man, and he starts weeping, and I can tell it's not because of the witness. He's crying about something else. Almighty Father, curse all you new people. You're the reasons my family is dead now. I suspected right. As he screams out at the top of his lunges. Many look down and cringe, and others begin having tears fall themselves. The reality of us being in their world is beginning to show. We are growing strong and at a fast rate. Eventually, no native of Gaia will be able to compete. Not an ordinary one. There are still very strong natives out there. The top adventurers in the Adventurers Guild and other reclusive NPCs exist. Ones that can't be killed easily. I know I'm the strongest player, and I can kill any mortal NPC. However, multiple legendary class wielders ganging up on me can mean my first death. Be them players or NPCs. Listen, what has happened here today is our fault. Everyone looks towards me as I say that. However, there are bigger problems than us new people. Your people are constantly warring and are in the middle of a great war. Everyone is silent as I speak. I'm not trying to make excuses, and I'm not trying to downplay the damage that our presence has done. We are capable of things for your wars that you're not. We can fight and be killed. Then come back and continue fighting. Us being here is saving your people even more death. Think about the other side too. Not just the problems we bring, but also the ones we solve. Many don't know if they should talk or stay quiet. Many want to retort, but they can't find the right words. Knowing that my words are true makes it hard. The drunk man stands up with pants full of piss and shit and walks out of the inn defeated. Not physically, but emotionally and mentally. To him, he's lost all his reasons to live. I turn back to the bartender, and he tosses me a key. They're upstairs, second room on the left. I nod my head and make my way towards the stairs. I slowly climb them, and as I do, I hear people begin to whisper to themselves. I make it to the door, and I use the key. Not bothering to knock, and as I open the door and walk in, Sally and Haley are sitting at a table and talking. Sally gets up and comes over, she immediately hugs me, and this is a moment when men know that they have someone that truly loves them. I take it everything went well. As Sally continues to squeeze me, Haley is curious about what I found. I give her a serious look and nod for her to head out of the room to give us some privacy. She takes the hint and leaves. I need to tell Sally all the information I've come across. Well, more like show her. Sally pulls away from me as Haley exits the room, and she looks up at me with a confused look. I grab her shoulder, and I create some distance between us. There is something I learned from the information. Something related to you and your mother. I want you to know that it's going to make you hurt and be angry. She looks at me in slight fear. She has no idea what the information I found entails. I pull out the crystal ball from my inventory, and I hand it to her. Take as much time reading it as you need, and it's going to be okay with whatever reaction you have. She looks at the crystal ball in hesitation, but I make my way over to the table. I take a seat, and I walk. Sally activates the crystal ball and begins reading. It's going to take her a bit to get to the section about her mother and her family and the Elven Kingdom. I lean my head in my hand as I prop my elbow on the table. She's going to be in a state of severe sadness, then incredible rage as she reads that. It's not something that should be hidden, and with all 3 quests tied to her knowing the information, it's the obvious choice to make. Even if that means we have to put fighting the disease on the back burner. After a couple of minutes, I watch her eyes widen and move her head closer to the crystal ball. She starts shaking, and I watch tears begin to fall. Her chin starts quivering, and little soft whimpers of pain escape. She stops reading and lets the crystal ball drop on the ground. Luckily, it didn't break. She falls to one and has a hard time catching her breath. I stand up from my chair, and I make my way to her side. I place my right hand on her shoulder, picking up the crystal ball with my left. I place it back in my inventory. I have new notifications, but those can wait. Before I can even say anything, she jumps into my arms and hugs me. I hear her cry out in pain in my ear, and I hug her and rock her side to side. They sold her, they sold my mom. The pain in her words makes my heart ache and my own hate and rage burn. Sally doesn't deserve this. No one does. I slowly rub the back of her head, and she continues crying. How could they, to their own family, to their own child? She speaks between gasps of pained breathing and crying. I just let her cry and hug me. That's what she needs right now. Chapter 272, Splitting Up Again 3. Sally's crying and whimpers begin to slow down, and it's been about 20 minutes of non-stop crying. She's gonna want to take a nap after this. Taking naps after long drying sessions is something everyone does. I pick her up in my arms, and I carry her to the bed. I lay her down, and she has nearly silent sobs ringing out. I don't know what you're going through, Sally. I'm not going to pretend I know what you're going through. You can rely on me, though. You can ask me for anything. She looks at me, and her chin is scrunched up. I reach out and wipe the tears away from her eyes, and I try to clean her face. Thanks, I'm really grateful to have you, Sarah. I sit at her side as she slowly falls asleep. After a few minutes, she's out cold. A tremendous amount of stress on the mind can make you tired. So tired, the next thing you do is sleep. I'm torn up on the inside. Seeing the one, you love in massive pain like this is unbearable. I feel insignificant and inferior not being able to help. How selfish of me making this about how I feel when it's about how Sally feels. I can't help but smack myself in the head. I take it everything has calmed down. I hear my sister's voice come from behind me, and I turn to see her standing in the doorway. I nod my head, and she looks at me with a form of pride. You picked one that I never would have expected, little bro. From what I've seen, she's a great woman who'll make you happy. All she needs is a little healing and a lot of love. Or is it the other way around? We both chuckle as this is the first time that she's talked to me about girls in, well, forever. I stand up and walk over to the table, leaving Sally to rest. I wave for her to come over, and she sits across from me. I was able to get the information accessed, and what I've read so far isn't pleasant. It's repulsive, actually, and I feel bad that you also have to read it. I pull the crystal ball out of my inventory and hand it to her. If we are going to be meeting up at a location, we'll need to discuss which target to go after. Once you speak with Jasmine, you can come and join us. Who knows, maybe she'll even bring Jasmine along with her. She activates the crystal ball and begins reading the information herself. I watch as her expressions change, depending on what she's reading. After a few minutes, she gets to the part that's about Sally and the Orvalo family. She cringes and has to turn it off. No wonder she was crying so hard. If I had a life like this, I would have taken my own life long ago. She's much stronger than I thought. Sally has a will that I've never seen before, and in my personal opinion, it's greater than mine. She's been through so much and still hasn't given up. Now she's thriving and getting what she needs. Haley continues reading, and I notice that she's interested in some names on the list too. She's likely seeing that the treasurer of the Pleer Kingdom is aware of everything and is letting it happen. She looks at me and wants to talk, but I hold up my hand. Just tell me which one of the targets we'll meet up at. She nods her head, indicating that she'll be meeting with us. She tells me the first of the targets is the one she'll be meeting us at. When are you heading out? She looks down in small disappointment. The next thing I know, Emerald pops her head out of her backpack. The green tiger is cute, and it'll melt the heart of any animal lover. I think tomorrow morning will be good. We can leave at the same time. Sounds like a good plan to me. Can I ask you something, Sarah? That's a little unexpected, but I see no problems. I nod my head, and she takes a breath. Did you know all of this would happen? My heart drops for a second. I figured she'd question me about it sometime. She's just as smart as me. You seemed so prepared for everything, like you knew what to do and when to do it. It's strange. I sigh, and I stare at her. She's waiting. The longer I stay silent, the more confirming her suspicions I become. It's a long story, Haley. One that we don't have time for right now, but I'm not going to deny or confirm any of your questions right now. When we do talk about this stuff, I want it to be with the whole family. She stares at me hard but gives up, seeing that it's not affecting me. I'm not sure if we'll ever see Mom, Dad, and Marcus again, but if we are a whole family again, I'll answer any questions you have. I'm doing this is to buy me time, cause the truth is dangerous. I changed the future with my actions, got us trapped in this world, abandoning Earth, costing billions of lives. I bounce between being guilty and not guilty, trying to balance the guilt and chaos in my mind. It weighs heavily on me. The life and old future I had, and the wish to come back in time. If I knew the repercussions to my choices could have been this drastic, I never would have made the one I made. She leans back in her chair and sighs. She closes her eyes and relaxes. Silence is the thing we need right now, and I'm glad she's got the same thing in mind. I open the notifications from earlier. Now that I have some time to revenge against the 11 Kingdom. Description: now that Sally's revenge against the James family has been completed, the hardest quest regarding Sally's past is about taking revenge against the Elven Kingdom. Objective 1, when the time comes, Sally will bring up getting revenge against the elves and the Orvelo family. Hint, this will occur during the time of fighting the disease quest. In progress. Objective 2, you can either hide the information found about Orvelo and her mother from Sally, or you can tell her. Each choice has a different impact on her feelings towards you and her family. Hint, you have until Sally brings up getting revenge against the elves directly. So if you intend to tell her, do it as soon as possible. Completed. Objective 3, when Sally wakes up, ask her how she's feeling. In progress. Reward, unknown. Difficulty, legendary. Dark truths. Description, find out why the Orvelo family has forsaken and doomed both Sally and her deceased mother. Revenge against the Elven Kingdom is directly tied to this quest. So the more you complete and figure that quest out, the more this quest will develop and change with it. Objective 1, once inside the Kingdom of the Elves, locate the Orvelo family. Once you have this information, bring it to Sally. Hint, Sally doesn't know where the location of her family is since she's never met them. In progress. Objective 2, this quest will be affected by whether you tell Sally about her mother and the betrayal. So if you want this quest to progress, it's wise to tell her as soon as you can. Completed. Objective 3, once you ask how Sally feels, she'll want to talk about her family and what to do. In progress. Difficulty, legacy. Rewards, unknown. Fighting the disease quest is unchanged, but dark truths and revenge against the Elven Kingdom have. I'll have to wait for Sally to wake up. I find it strange that the updates to the quest knew she would fall asleep. An unexplained quirk to the quest system that nobody could ever discern. That's because back then, no one knew this was a separate world with actual gods. How do you think Mom and Dad are doing? Marcus has to be bored without us there. Haley suddenly asks me a question I don't think about often enough. Marcus and Dad are probably fine, but Mom, she's a little out there when it comes to us, her children. I'm betting Mom is driving Dad and Marcus crazy. You know how she is and how worried and protective she can be. It's funny thinking about Dad having to take the brunt of her mood swings. We both laugh at the thought of Mom comically beating up Dad. Mothers and fathers are the real heroes, and I'm proud of my parents. We aren't the perfect family, but we're far from a bad family. We're ordinary, with problems and quirks. I needed this to remember them. Chapter 273, Splitting Up Again 4. As Sally sleeps and Sarah and Haley continue talking, there is much happening in the capital city of Pleer. The king is discussing important plans with his nobles and military leaders. Why, you may ask? Because he knows that the Elven Queen holds grudges and isn't going to take the disrespect from the king of Pleer. As all full-blooded elves think, he knows that retaliation is coming. Be it an assassination attempt or a political subterfuge. The king of Pleer is a wise leader, and while he is old now, his mind is still bright and sharp. I curse this old body of mine. I'd give almost anything to have my youth back. To fight alongside my men in battle, to lead them at the front. Instead, I'm confined to this castle, and I'm stuck talking and planning for things that I used to handle with my sword instead of my words. There is nothing more emasculating than losing what makes you a man, and to me, that's the ability to fight and defend my people and land in battle. My king, what do you suggest we do about the elven spies all over the capital? They're obviously probing for weaknesses in our defenses. One of my generals speaks. I look at the reports and understand while there won't be a direct conflict with the elves, there is going to be a problem. The actions of disrespect I took against the Elven Queen were in retaliation to the disrespect she had for me. Telling me how to treat people in my kingdom, citizen or not. You all know why there is a scuffle between us and the elves. I ask the room the main reason for all of this, and everyone exchange looks. Most of them know, but others are a little lost. Slayer Zirn is in my kingdom. The people who didn't know look up with surprise and know why there are problems now. It's no secret that the elves are after Slayer'sirn. The church made an empty promise of promising Slayer'sirn in marriage to one of the elven princesses. They are looking to consecrate their bloodline and actually make it divine. It'll not just be in words anymore but in fact. I have no intention of reaching out and contacting Slayer'sirn, and I have no intention of being pushed around by the elves. So what we're going to do is purge her spies from my capital city. That'll send a message to her, and it'll show Slayer'sirn I will not cooperate with the elves. He may never know, but it makes little difference. The elves are a powerful people, but everything has a weakness, be it a person, an object, or physical or mental fault. The Elven Queen's faults are in great supply, and all we have to do is exploit a few of them to get her out of my kingdom. I'll get the magical surveyed ready as soon as possible, my king. We'll have the elven spies routed shortly. I'm glad that my allies can piece my plan together. I grow tired of having to explain everything to everyone. I'm grateful for such great subjects. While this is happening in the capital city Pleer, the opponent to the king of Pleer, is planning things herself. The Elven Queen is no idiot, and she knows her spies will be found and made an example of. She has so many spies. She can toss them away like tissues. She's sitting with her 2 daughters and sipping from glasses of tea, special tea created from the eternal forest. It's poisonous to all other creatures, but to elves, the tea is the most flavorful drink ever to sip. She has a calm exterior, but inside, the queen is festering. She holds grudges, after all. I look at my 2 beautiful daughters, and my anger is quelled for a second. They have traces of their wonderful father in them. I wish he were here to help me through some of the current problems our kingdom faces. The room we're in is covered in marvelous decorations and brings on an extremely elegant feeling when sitting in it. It makes me feel better, in a way. Mother, you have been awfully quiet. My firstborn makes an observation. She has the rightful claim to the throne, but that doesn't mean her sister doesn't have a claim altogether. The plan to decide who inherits the Elven Kingdom was complex, something I came up with on the spot. Whichever one of my daughters successfully seduced Slayer'sirn would inherit. The other will remain a princess. I'd like to discuss an important matter, one regarding Slayer'sirn. They both put their full attention on me. I have already told them about the competition. I have another thing to discuss about Slayer'sirn. Something that I've been ignoring. As you 2 know, he's traveling with a half-breed. Both my daughters react in a way of disgust. There is much turmoil and hate for any elves of mixed blood. It corrupts the purity of the elven blood, hence why most are banished. Salyandra is the daughter to the firstborn daughter of the Orvalo house. She was to be wed to your brother originally, but that fell through. That's putting it lightly. If she married my son, then there'd be a whole different discussion of who's ruling. My son is in exile himself and is never coming back. After what happened to his beloved, he lost faith in our ways. I don't know where he is. Both my daughters set down their tea and sit up straight. The Orvalo family is extremely important to our kingdom. Their vast wealth and resources make it imperative we see to their requests. The first of their requests in a very long time is the return of Salyandra, alive and unharmed. I want to hear your ideas and thoughts on this. As one of you will be a future queen, there needs to be a discussion like this. I need to see how well you plan and lead. They nod their heads and proceed to tell me ideas on how to handle this situation. While this is happening in the Elven Kingdom, back in the city of James, Sally is starting to wake up. It's been a few hours, and after all the mental stress she underwent, she needed a nap to recharge her energy. Sarah is sitting at the table with Haley, talking with her. He looks over to the bed and sees her stirring around and slowly getting up. Sarah stands up from his seat and walks over to the edge of the bed as Sally leans up. She cleans the gunk out of her eyes and slowly looks around. She sees Sarah's face and smiles. I look at Sally and see her bright and beautiful smile. She must think that what happened was a dream. The horrible truth that she learned. I had the worst nightmare of my life. You should have woken me up. Did you get the information? She has blocked out most of what happened. To the point in time, I came back with the crystal ball. I place my hand on her shoulder and bring her to my side. What's wrong? You make it sound like it's not good. I don't know how to handle this, but I'm going to have to. I have to do what a man does. I look her deep in the eyes, and I take a small breath. It wasn't a dream, Sally. What happened really happened. I watch her reaction go from a good mood to a horribly sad one. She's on the verge of tears again, and I quickly wrap her in a hug. She wraps her arms around me and sobs into my chest piece. I'm so sorry, Sally. That's all I can really say. I don't want to tell her anything other than that. I look over to Haley and nod my head for her to come over. She does, and she hugs Sally from the other side. After a couple of minutes, the crying stops, and I let go of her. She lifts her head, and I see a look of rage and anger. I want to end them. We are going to the Elven Kingdom. As she says that, 2 of my quests get updates to them. I don't look at them just yet. There will be a moment to look at them in a bit. Right now, Sally needs my full attention. This means Haley's plan to meet up with us regarding the slavers has changed. I'll discuss that with her later. Sally stands up, and I can feel the shift in her aura, her mood. She's changed. Chapter 274, Splitting Up Again. V. Sally's look of determination says a lot, and now that a horrible truth has been revealed to both of us, I agree with her feelings. It looks like revenge against the Elven Kingdom is our priority. When can we leave? Sally wants to leave as soon as possible. I look at her and shake my head. I explain that we can leave first thing tomorrow morning. I still have to alter plans with Haley. Before I do any of that, I'll have to see the updates to the quests. I stand up, and I make my way over to the table in the room. I take a seat and wave for both of them to come over. The first to get up is Sally, and she quickly takes the seat next to me. Haley soon follows and joins us at the table and sits across from Sally and me. There is something that I want both of you to know before we make any plans. My serious demeanor and tone grab their attention. When we do this, we'll be taking on one of the most powerful kingdoms in all of Gaia. I know Sally doesn't have any second thoughts, but if you don't want to be a part of our attack on the elves, I'll understand. This statement is directed at Haley. Taking on the elves isn't an easy undertaking. It's something that should be seriously considered. Once people learn that I'm involved, things will get complicated too. To the vast majority of people, I'm supposed to be above fighting and seeking an end to the Great War happening. Once they learn that I'm involved with attacking one of the biggest contributors in the Great War, opinions of me will change. While the most devoted followers of the Church won't question my actions, the common people are the ones who are less educated about the bigger picture and the evil committed by these large kingdoms. Haley takes time to consider my words. Knowing they're true is helping. She has people that depend on her, people she cares about. The type of people she doesn't want getting dragged into fights like this. I will be helping you in this fight, but you have to promise me that you'll help protect Jasmine when I bring her with me. She's my best friend, and if she dies, she's not coming back, as we do a grim reality that we have to face constantly. The people we are growing close to are not immortal as we are. If they are killed, they stay dead. I can protect Jasmine to a degree, but if she does anything reckless or stupid, I can't help her. I can do that, Haley. As long as she isn't dumb and gets into trouble constantly, then I have no problem helping protect her. I doubt I'll ever get the chance with you watching over her, though. She smiles and nods her head. It looks like Haley will be joining us. I have to check something in my interface really fast. Haley understands what I'm talking about, but Sally doesn't. It's something that only us players, or new people, have. I look at the updates to the 2 quests. Revenge against the 11 Kingdom. Description: now that Sally's revenge against the James family has been completed, the hardest quest regarding Sally's past is about taking revenge against the Elven Kingdom. Objective 1: when the time comes, Sally will bring up getting revenge against the elves and the Orvelo family. Hint: this will occur during the time of fighting the disease quest. Completed. Objective 2: you can either hide the information found about Orvelo and her mother from Sally, or you can tell her. Each choice has a different impact on her feelings towards you and her family. Hint: you have until Sally brings up getting revenge against the elves directly. So if you intend to tell her, do it as soon as possible. Completed. Objective 3: when Sally wakes up, ask her how she's feeling. Completed. Objective 4: head to the Elven Kingdom's capital city, Zernox. In progress. Objective 5: make the royal family and nobles pay for their transgressions against Salyandra. How you do this is up to Sally. So listen to her. In progress. Reward: unknown. Difficulty: legendary. The capital city of the Elven Kingdom, Zernox. I've never been there personally, but I heard it's a beautiful sight. It will be hard getting into the Elven Kingdom, let alone the capital and the royal family. I could say that I want to see the royal family using my identity as the son of Michael. However, how this quest is done is up to Sally. This means that I have to do it her way, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Even if it might take longer, my idea might not even work. Sally is in charge of this quest, and that means I have to listen to her. Dark Truths. Description: find out why the Orvelo family has forsaken and doomed both Sally and her deceased mother. Revenge against the Elven Kingdom is directly tied to this quest. So the more you complete and figure that quest out, the more this quest will develop and change with it. Objective 1: once inside the Kingdom of the Elves, locate the Orvelo family. Once you have this information, bring it to Sally. Hint: Sally doesn't know where the location of her family is since she's never met them. In progress. Objective 2: this quest will be affected by whether you tell Sally about her mother and the betrayal. So if you want this quest to progress, it's wise to tell her as soon as you can. Completed. Objective 3: once you ask how Sally feels, she'll want to talk about her family and what to do. Completed. Objective 4: once the Orvelo family is located, take Sally to them so she can question them and get answers that she needs. In progress. Objective 5: get the Orvelo family's location while in the capital Elven city of Zernox. How this is done is up to you. In progress. Difficulty: legacy. Rewards: unknown. There is going to be a lot to do regarding Dark Truths. Finding the Orvelo family will be complicated, and that also means that it's going to consume even more time. Time we might not have, not with so many wars happening or starting up. Okay, once you are done getting Jasmine, meet us at the southernmost border to the Elven Kingdom. We'll meet up there. It's going to be a pain crossing the borders. They take the security of their kingdom very seriously. Haley nods her head and leans back in her chair. We now have a plan of action, and once we are done with all of this, we can start working on the fighting the disease quest. It's going to be a while before we get to work on it, though. For now, let's just enjoy this time together. We'll be reaching the southernmost border before Jasmine and you. So once we get there, we'll wait in the city attached to the border. We'll keep a low profile, and most stay in a room in an inn. Once you and Jasmine catch up, check the inns in the town. The final things have been taken care of. I look at Sally, and I can see that she has to use all her will to resist going right now. I reach over and wrap my arm around her shoulders. I scoot her closer in and give her a side hug. Don't worry, Sally. We'll make them pay, and nothing is going to stop that. She looks into my eyes, and I keep a calm confidence, reassuring her that my words are true. She sighs and closes her eyes. She leans her head against me, deciding to relax until tomorrow when we leave. I look over at Haley, and I can see she has an amused look. I've never been an affectionate person, so doing this in front of her must be a curiosity to her. Should I leave you two lover-bird alone? I clench my jaw in frustration, leave to her to make it awkward. I glance at Sally, and even with her eyes closed, she has a spreading blush. I look at Haley and make sure she knows that I'm upset. She puts her hands up in mock surrender. I swear when she gets a boyfriend, I'll make sure I embarrass her plenty. That is if she can get a boyfriend. If she's even interested in boys anymore. Who knows, maybe she's gotten sick of them. I'll leave you two alone. She suddenly stands up and leaves the bedroom, leaving Sally and me alone. I feel her place her hand on my knee. Chapter 275, Splitting Up Again 6. Sally might be taking Haley's words literally. I know Sally. I know that she doesn't want to do anything more than what we are right now, which is cuddling, not after what's happened. Don't listen to her. My sister doesn't know anything about relationships. She's never held a relationship together for too long. I say it as more of a joke. Sally chuckles lightly, and I'm happy to see she's smiling a little now. I know that this is all hard on you. Remember that you have people on your side. I'm on your side, Sally. There isn't anything we can't do. I'm doing my best to speak from the heart. She leans her head on me and stays quiet. I'm really grateful that I ran into you at that inn. My life has changed so much after that day, all of it for the better. Thank you for helping me, and I love you, Sarah. We have our moments, the chances that we can talk like this, in private. I'm really glad that I got to meet your sister. I didn't think you two would be so different. While you're both powerful, your personalities are far apart. I'll take that as a compliment. My sister is unique in her own way. All of us kids are different. The city of James will be a distant memory one day, but neither of us will forget getting Sally her revenge. My revenge. It's my revenge cause they caused the one I've come to love incredible pain, suffering. Wait until you meet my little brother and parents. We're a diverse family. None of us are really similar. It makes it interesting. Now that I think about it, my family is so weird. You might say it's unnatural. Sally stands up from the chair beside me and walks over to the biggest window. She looks out into the city, seeing its destruction and rebuilding. I stand up and join her. I know we've done a good thing. With our actions, we've freed so many people from suffering here. There is still work to be done with fighting the disease, but it's okay to enjoy this victory. Why do you think they did it? Why they did that to my mom? I wrap my arm around her and try to make her feel better. There isn't a way to know that, not for me. I couldn't imagine going through the life Sally's had. The dark things that are being revealed and the ones to come. She's one of a kind, and I'm not losing her. I lean my head against hers and kiss the side of her head. I don't know, Sally. I can't comprehend why a family would do something like that. We'll find out, and we might not like the answer. But we'll know. I know the reason is going to be for something stupid. It usually is, and in reality, there shouldn't ever be a reason to do that to a person. The elven people are different. Their ways are different. Despicable and in need of correction. How that comes isn't up to me. If there's to be change, it has to be from within. Not forced. I can't force an entire people to be different, and neither can Sally. We can cut the head off the dragon, though. I want to talk to your sister. Without you. Is that all right? While I do want to know, it's obviously something she doesn't want me to know. I can respect that. There are things that I don't want Sally to know. I nod my head and leave for the door. Haley is likely downstairs trying to get some food and something to drink. I make my way down the stairs, and I see her at a table. I walk up to her, and she lifts her head. She's waiting for me to speak, and I don't keep her waiting anymore. Sally said she wants to talk to you alone. It's my turn to be the one giving privacy. She looks at me with some surprise. She was thinking that we'll be doing something more than talk up there. Too bad, she knows nothing about relationships. There are times when that's not on either partner's mind. She stands up from the stool and takes off towards the staircase. I take a seat in her chair, and I look at the bartender. I have my hood up. I put it back up on my way out of the room. He doesn't look like he wants to talk, and I don't want to talk either. The next thing I know, a bottle is thrown at the back of my head, and it breaks on impact. "You son of a bitch!" Another angry drunk calls out from behind me. Not the same one as earlier, but one that has probably lost a lot from the players' fight with the monsters. He stomps up to me as I look at him, and he balls his fist. This is becoming repetitive. So, I kick the guy in the chest as he approaches, and he goes across the room and landing on some tables. I didn't put enough strength in to kill him, only make him lost his breath and break a few ribs. If anyone else tries anything, it'll be much worse for them. I don't like threatening distraught people, one suffering from the after effects. However, I can't deal with this all the time. I want some peace and quiet myself. Other drunks and disgruntled people help pick the man up, and they all look at me with anger. They don't act upon it though. The difference between them and me is a cotton ball compared to a star. There's no chance. I turn my back to them. There's no way they can actually hurt me. Not without a legendary item, at least. You know you're going to have to pay for the damages to the tables. The bartender tries to get some money out of me, and I can tell from here on out, it's going to be hard to deal with the natives of Gaia. I ignore him. I'm not really in the mood to keep dealing with this. So it's best to ignore the world around me. It's the least violent path I can think of. That's if I remain unbothered, of course. Some people don't learn. I zone out into my own world as the noise fades out. I think about all the things that Sally and I have accomplished since starting together. The journey to get her class, the dangerous one to get my mana aura. The events that have led us here. I think back to before I met Sally, and I've got to say, I was a pretty lonely dude, not knowing companionship. The touch of a woman. It's really surreal to see the changes that I've gone through in others. Haley has changed greatly and is an amazing warrior now. She doesn't need anyone. My thoughts drift to the rest of my family and what they're doing right now. I'm betting Dad and Marcus are having a blast. Mom is doing her best not to worry about Haley and me. My thoughts are interrupted as I feel a hand on my shoulder. I look, and it's a guard. This is the man refusing to pay for the damages to the table. It looks like the bartender went and snitched. He has that right, but it's still inconvenient. The guard already knows that I'm a new person. I can tell by the look on his face. He must hate us as much as the rest of the people. He grips my shoulder, trying to induce pain. All that he receives is a hard struggle to dig his hand into my shoulder. "You're under arrest. Come quietly, and we'll only give you a light beating." I sigh. There are many ways to get out of this situation, and most require blood. The only thing I can think of is revealing my identity, which should get people to leave me alone. We're leaving First Light tomorrow, and it's not like there is another non-violent solution to this situation. I stand up, and I toggle my wings on. My golden wings burst out from my back and knock over anything that gets in the way. I take my hood off and stare at the guard. "You really want to be the one to arrest the son of Archangel Michael?" There are only shocked looks all around the inn. The drunks quickly sobering up. The guard has a look of death. He immediately gets on his hands and knees and places his head on the ground. The bartender and everyone else in the bar does the same. This was the least violent solution, and now it should be easier to keep the violent ones away. Chapter 276, Splitting Up Again 7. I don't like people bowing to me. That's the customs of this world, though. I understand that there is extreme prejudice against new people right now, but I'm one of them. We aren't bad people. We don't purposefully cause these things to happen. They're out of our control, and we shouldn't be punished for that. Many that are bowing right now raise their heads and look at me, thinking about my words. They're true, while it is our fault. It's also not our fault. The people of Gaia might understand that one day, but it won't be any time soon. I toggle my wings off and sit back on the seat. I face the bar, and everyone begins to stand up and slowly leave the bar. I can hear them running away and shouting that I'm in here from outside. The bartender is the only one still left. He comes back around the counter and tries to get into the flow of work, but with me watching, he's nervous. I'm sorry if I knew, I never. He stops there as he sees my gaze. It's better to move on from issues than to talk about them. I was never in any danger, so I don't take any offense to it. You could say that's arrogant pride. I have that sometimes. It's a flaw of mine and something I'm working on. I hear the voices growing outside, and that means people are gathering in a large group. Mostly poor and the sick, the desperate. I hear the door of the inn creak open and the clanking of armor. I turn around and see soldiers and officials from the church. They immediately bow as I make eye contact. Your Holiness, it's an honor and a privilege to meet you. The head of the church here begins to speak. I try to ignore all the formal and respectful greetings. I'm a casual guy and prefer casual conversations. However, this is impossible. Quit bowing. I'm not into that sort of thing. They hesitate, but they slowly rise. Despite the church's whispering protests. I don't know why you're here, so state your business. I look at them, and all I see are a bunch of men looking for an excuse to meet Slayer Zirn, to meet me. These are hard times in the city of James. I look past them towards the open door, and I see poor people. Holding sick, waiting for me. I have time to help them. Sally and Haley are busy talking to each other. Your Holiness, we were hoping you could heal T.A.W. The random soldier who decides to speak is instantly silenced with a hard punch to the face by the squad captain. The official from the church looks at the random soldier as if he's the disease eating at the world. I meant no diss, he's hit again, and the captain waves for the soldier to be taken away. He was asking me if I could heal the sick that are waiting for me outside. The captain and the church official both bow in an attempt to apologize. I stand up, and I stretch my body. I'm eternally sorry for my soldier disrespect. I'll accept any form of punishment you give. These guys are serious. I sigh, and I roll my neck. I turn on my divine title, and the aura immediately shifts. My divine title does many different things, and notifying people I'm near is one. I watch the soldiers and people from the church look at the amazing pearlescent glowing title above my head. Saying the son of Archangel Michael, Slayer Zirn. I toggle my wings back on, and I begin walking towards the men and women in the inn. They all freeze, thinking I'm going to do something. Instead, I walk past them, and I make my way for the exit. I make it outside. The crowd of people is huge, and more are constantly joining. As soon as they see me, they get on their knees and start begging for help. Some even come forward to try and touch me. Before they can, the soldiers inside push the crowd away. Insolent vermin! How dare you try and touch His Holiness? The fanatic of the church is yelling and screaming at the people that tried to come forward. I place my hand on his shoulder, and he stops. Shocked that I'm actually touching him. They're just desperate for help. Leave them be. He immediately has a look of shame and looks down towards the ground. As if every reason for living has left him. I turn towards the crowd and see the desperate looks. I'll help whoever needs it, but I'm leaving tomorrow morning, so fetch as many people as you can. I won't be here long enough to get everyone. It makes me feel like I'm balancing all the wrong I've done by helping whenever I can. I walk into the crowd and spread my wings wide. Place all the sick and injured under my wings and in front of me. People immediately start to place disease and crippled people under my wings. There are some scuffles on certain spots too. I use my strongest healing spell and heal all the ones under me. Their bodies are restored, and they soon wake up in perfect health. The parents rush towards their children, and the children rush for their parents. Soon more start to try to put others under my wings. There is a problem, though. Desperate parents are soon arguing who gets to go next, whose child is healed before who. Fathers are on the brink of brawling, and mothers are on the edge of clawing at one another. Don't worry. Everyone stops what they're doing. I'll get everyone who is here and who decides to show up on time. If you're here now, I'll help. So please, no violence. They all stop what they're doing. I'm doing my best to stop the fighting. More bloodshed after what's already happened isn't good. These people have suffered enough, no reason to be the cause for more. As Sarah continues to heal the sick and crippled, Sally and Haley are speaking to each other, and it's a conversation that can't involve Sarah not yet. Sally is terribly scared to speak about what she wants to speak about. While she feels comfortable with Sarah and knows that she can talk to him about anything, there are still many things Sally's afraid of Sarah knowing about her. One of the things Haley and Sally are discussing right now. Sally is doing her best to get the words out, but she is having a hard time. Her own frustration of her fear is getting to her, and she soon gets it out. Haley is someone I can talk to about this. Sarah would listen and understand. He'd support me, but I'm not ready for him to know about this yet. So, what do you want to talk about? I can see how hard this subject is for you. Whatever it is, maybe Sarah is the one you should talk to. I shake my head, and she sighs. Well, out with it. I promise I won't tell Sarah if that is what you're worried about. I do feel really bad for not talking to Sarah about this. I fiddle with my fingers and get the courage needed for talking about this. I take a breath and level out. I'm worried that I might be asking too much of Sarah, that he's doing everything that I want done, and I'm not reciprocating. I know that he would tell me it's okay, but I'm not sure that this is how a relationship is supposed to work. I'm worried that I'm causing an imbalance in the relationship. We're doing so many things for me. The last time we did anything for Sarah is going to Zenith is see his mom. I have to ask Haley about that cause they talk like they're from the same mom, but Amelia only has one birth child. All of a sudden, Haley starts laughing out loud. Are you seriously worried about that? Sarah hasn't told you anything about us new people, has he? How we get stronger and how we're different? I'm not sure how to react. He hasn't explained the way his people work, how they gain so much power so fast. Does that have anything to do with why he's so willing to help me? So willing to do whatever I want? Look, you have nothing to worry about. Sarah is the one to explain things to you, but I'll let you in on a little secret. We get quests that make us stronger, ones that you wouldn't have access to. There are more questions I have for Sarah now, and I'll have to ask him the next chance I get. Chapter 277, Splitting Up Again 8. I finish healing the current group around me, and that should be the rest of the people. All the ones currently present, that is. I look around, and there isn't desperation anymore, but happy smiling families. Free of suffering from disease and injury. I needed this to reach out and help. Sometimes, taking time to help others can really help yourself. I look towards the church officials that have all gathered and they're on their knees praying. To me, it's weird and unnatural. To them, I'm the grandson of the Almighty Father. I'm divinity walking around, sharing what I have. To them, basking in my very presence is an unimaginable gift. I don't like that they do it, but I can't stop them. It's wrong that they do this. I'm not as holy as they want me to be. One day, they might all learn that. I turn around and make my way towards the inn. I toggle my wings off, and I unequip my title, making me look like an ordinary man. Your Holiness allows us to take you somewhere that is more accommodating to your position. A sister of the church voices out to me. I turn and look at her. She's got a kind voice and a pleasant face. My companions are staying here. One of them already paid a large sum for the room we're using. It was expensive, so no point in wasting it. As soon as those words leave my mouth, the guards and church members stare at the bartender who's in charge of selling rooms. He looks at them in fear. Don't blame him. I'm sure if he knew at the time, he would have been more willing to rent the room out at a reasonable price. His own hatred for players has come back to bite him. That isn't something he should be put to death for, so I should cover him. I walk into the inn, not bothering with continuing any more conversations. It's been several hours since I started helping these people, and Sally and Haley haven't come out of the room once. They're either still talking or waiting for me to get done with everyone. It would have been hard to miss the noise from outside. I climb the stairs and head for the door. I open it, and Sally and Haley are sitting across from each other, playing a regular game of cards. I bet if Sally had a deck, she'd play some of the shattering with Haley. I still have yet to get to mine. What are you playing? Sally lays down her cards and stands up. She walks over to me and gives me a big hug. I'm hoping they were able to help Sally talk about whatever it was she wanted to talk about. It looks like a game of 5-card draw. I didn't think that games from Earth would appear in this new world, but we're sure to bring some things with us. Haley stands up and walks over too. She waits for Sally to stop hugging me. I'm going to head out early, and I'll meet you guys at the southernmost border of the Elven Kingdom with Jasmine. I smile at her, and she does me. It sucks that we have to split up again, but it's not going to be forever. You ready to go, Emerald? She calls out to her magical beast, and the little green-striped tiger cub pops its head out of the backpack and meows. It's been really great, Sally. I'm glad that my little bro found someone he can be with. I feel a little embarrassed when she says that, making me sound picky for no reason. I stop hugging Sally and move to hug my sister. Before she can protest, I already have her wrapped in my arms. Instead of fighting, she hugs me back. I stop after a couple of seconds and pull away. I don't need to tell you to be safe, sis, but watch your back out there. It's a big dangerous world. I put a sincere tone at the end of my sentence. The original plan was to have her leave in the morning, but since it's already dark, this is fine too. I pet Emerald's head, and Haley turns around with a smile and leaves the room, leaving Sally and me here all alone. I turn to her, and Sally has a bittersweet look on her face. I feel the same way. I really hope it isn't too long until we see her again at the city located at the border crossing. I agree with Sally on this point. We barely got to spend a day together. Now she's already leaving again, but that's how life works. People separate and spread out, meeting up every now and again. She's really awesome, and while you two don't have much in common, I can see the family resemblance. Sally wouldn't say that if she knew Haley from the old future. I walk over to the bed, and I take a seat. I'm not physically tired, but mentally I'm ready to crash into a nice deep nap. Haley is a great sister, and while we haven't always agreed on certain things, we'll always be there for one another. I look at Sally, and she stands up with a smile and comes and joins me. I'm curious to know what you two talked about, but I know that you're not ready to talk about it. If you were, you'd have brought that up first instead of how cool my sister is. She takes on a relaxed expression and leans her head on my shoulder. I don't think she's going to be talking, but I know she wants to. She's just scared. Can I ask you something? She hits me with a question and she's heavy with hesitation. I tell her that it's fine. Haley said that the reason you're okay with doing all these things for me is that you get something out of it too. That you somehow gain strength from it. I take back the nice things I said about my sister. Sally is asking questions I'm not ready to answer. But I will. I'll show her instead of telling her. I pull up the quests and make them visible to NPCs near me. Revenge against the 11 Kingdom. Description: now that Sally's revenge against the James family has been completed, the hardest quest regarding Sally's past is about taking revenge against the Elven Kingdom. Objective 1. When the time comes, Sally will bring up getting revenge against the elves and the Orvalo family. Hint: this will occur during the time of fighting the disease quest. Completed. Objective 2. You can either hide the information found about Orvalo and her mother from Sally, or you can tell her. Each choice has a different impact on her feelings towards you and her family. Hint: you have until Sally brings up getting revenge against the elves directly. So if you intend to tell her, do it as soon as possible. Completed. Objective 3. When Sally wakes up, ask her how she's feeling. Completed. Objective 4. Head to the Elven Kingdom's capital city, Zernox. In progress. Objective 5. Make the royal family and nobles pay for their transgressions against Salyandra. How you do this is up to Sally. So listen to her. In progress. Reward: unknown. Difficulty: legendary. Dark truths. Description: find out why the Orvalo family has forsaken and doomed both Sally and her deceased mother. Revenge against the Elven Kingdom is directly tied to this quest. So the more you complete and figure that quest out, the more this quest will develop and change with it. Objective 1. Once inside the Kingdom of the Elves, locate the Orvalo family. Once you have this information, bring it to Sally. Hint: Sally doesn't know where the location of her family is since she's never met them. In progress. Objective 2. This quest will be affected by whether you tell Sally about her mother and the betrayal. So if you want this quest to progress, it's wise to tell her as soon as you can. Completed. Objective 3. Once you ask how Sally feels, she'll want to talk about her family and what to do. Completed. Objective 4. Once the Orvalo family is located, take Sally to them so she can question them and get answers that she needs. In progress. Objective 5. Get the Orvalo family's location while in the capital elven city of Zernox. How this is done is up to you. In progress. Difficulty: legacy. Rewards: unknown. She looks at the holographic quests in shock and then looks at me for an explanation. Us new people have a special connection to something called the system. We can receive quests and rewards from the system, and get more power from it. Quests can be given through people, items, and class upgrades. That's how I got these quests. I got them from you. She looks back at the hologram and brings her hand up to it, trying to touch it. So what do you think? This is the first time she's going to be seeing this, so I don't know how she's going to react. Chapter 278, Sad Discoveries. I don't know what Sally is thinking about learning this new information. I showed her in Amelia the stats on the witness, but that isn't the same as seeing this. It's quests that are about her and rewards for completing them. I hope that she doesn't think the only reason I'm doing any of this is because of the rewards. This is amazing. I look at her in surprise. She has stars in her eyes as she reads the information about her. There is so much information about me. She has an excited tone, and I can say that I didn't expect this reaction in the slightest. I'm kind of thrown for a loop here. Revenge against the Elven Kingdom and Dark Truths. Fitting names for them. Are the objectives that say it's up to me accurate? I nod my head as I'm starting to get over the energy she has. That's so cool. I get a say in how we finish these quests. Is that why you said that I'm in charge? I nod my head again, and she continues reading the information. Do all new people have this? Why does it say players' quests at the top of the page? I didn't think she'd see that small detail. It's something that is too complicated to explain, but I can give her a rough idea. That's what we are called by this power, the system. We are players. To all of you, we're new people. Both are true, but we still come from a different world, as I explained before. How we came to be here is far too complicated to explain, but in simple terms. We created a way to come back and forth between our world and this one. That was until we got stuck, and we can't return. She looks at me with a face wanting to ask many questions. She may not know what to ask next. I just unloaded a lot of new information on her. This is all really awesome, Sarah. I'm afraid that most of it wouldn't be believed. I know you're not a liar, though. I know that you're telling me the truth, and if this is what you say, then this is the truth. I wonder who the rest of the people will react. What does the NPC next to my name stand for? Another thing that's too hard to explain right at the moment. The system still views the people of Gaia as NPCs, but they're much more than that. She's waiting for a response, and I'm trying to find the best way to word this without confusing her. You know how wizards and armies use golems and puppets? She slowly nods her head. Golems and puppets that are used in armies are like the traditional NPCs that used to be used back in the 21st and 22nd centuries. They follow a strict set of commands, and they can't expand more beyond that. Having limited intelligence and will. That's what an NPC is to the system. She looks at the holographic screen with a look of being insulted. She is being compared to a dumb soulless tool like a golem or puppet. I'd be offended, too, if someone did that to me. Why doesn't this system thing change that? It's obvious I'm not like a golem or a puppet. Is this thing's definition of a soulless entity different than ours? That's a great point to bring up. The system is actually marking her as a non-player character, which is technically right. No native of Gaia has the same powers and access to the system as us players. Since I'm a player, it will identify Sally as an NPC since she isn't marked as a player. She looks at me to answer her question. Well, I might have half explained it to you. NPC is an abbreviation of the term non-player character. She looks at me in genuine confusion. I point towards the word player on the holographic screen, and she looks. The system identifies me as a player. Any creature that doesn't have access to the system and isn't a player is labeled a non-player character. The system's definition of NPC doesn't mean you're dumb like a puppet or golem. It means you don't have access to the system, and you're not a player. She tries her best to understand. The concept is rather hard to wrap around if you're just being introduced to these terms. That makes some sense. Since I'm not like you, a player, I'm automatically labeled as an NPC. I nod my head with a smile on my face since she's got the basic idea. I'm surprised there is so much to still learn about you new people, or do you prefer players? We as a group don't really mind either. No one is going to bother explaining the math and science of how we got here. So there is no point in explaining or correcting anything. It's not like it's necessary. I make the screen disappear with the wave of my hand. Now you know more than any other person that's native to Gaia. What do you think of all this anyway? I know it's a lot to take in, but those are the differences between us. It was simplified greatly, but that was the basics. She stays quiet as she closes her eyes and puts her head in a tilted pose to think. She's taken it all rather well, but some of the things that I explained are hard to accept. They're really out there in terms of possibility to her. This world isn't nearly as technologically advanced as Earth. She opens her eyes and has a calm expression. It answers a lot of questions that I had, and it's also given me so many more. My main concern is your lifespan. While elves live a long time, we're not immortal. You're the son of an angel and a player for all I know. You're going to live forever. I don't know how to respond to that immediately, but I get a grip, and I hug her. The reversal in age for players does suggest something akin to longer lifespans. Even immortality. None of that has been confirmed or denied yet, so I'm not sure. I stop hugging her and pull away. I lift her head to look into mine. As we stare into each other's eyes, Sally's eyes wiggle a little, and her blush spreads across her face. I'm not sure about immortality. I do know that when we die, we're brought back. This is something that'll be answered with time. If I am immortal, I promise that I'll find a way to make you immortal too. I don't like the thought of spending eternity without Sally. This is a maybe too. I don't know if I am immortal. Nowhere does it say I'm immortal. Everything that's happened to us players suggests otherwise, though. Older players sent back to their physical primes, and when we are killed in battle, all we do is revive and lose a level. I appreciate the thought, but I'm not sure I'd want to live forever. My blood runs cold as I hear her say that. I've already over 100 years, and sometimes I think life is overrated after meeting you. Those thoughts have changed, but I'm not sure I'd want to live past 700 years. The exact details in elves' lifespans vary, but many say for every 1 human year. It's 10 to 20 for an elf. I'm quite speechless after hearing that. I never thought Sally wouldn't want to live forever with me if there was a chance. I have to ask a very important question. One I've neglected to ask. Sally, have you ever thought about taking your own life? Have you ever tried? It's not a question I like to ask, especially with a person I've grown to love very much. She looks down at the floor, and tears slowly fall. That's all the answer I need. I pull her back into a hug, and I feel like never letting her go. Sally has been suicidal in her past, and it makes sense given how hard her life's been. I rock her side to side as she slowly cries. I can't help my own tears from welling in the corner of my eyes. The thought of Sally killing herself makes me feel empty and hollow. I'm sorry, Sally, you've been through so much in your life. Thinking about something like that isn't uncommon. I don't know what else to say. So I speak from the heart. You should be proud, Sally. You fought those thoughts, and now look at where you're at. She hugs me harder as I say those words. She overcame those demons in her head, and now she's stronger than ever. Chapter 279, Leaving the City of James. Sally finishes crying and peels off of me. I have to dry the tears welling in my eyes before they fall. I never thought I'd care for someone enough to cry for them other than my family. I'm really tired. Is it alright if we sleep in before we leave tomorrow? I nod my head and like the idea of sleeping in for a change. We both get undressed down to our underwear and hop into the sheets. She doesn't have an inventory, so her clothes are in a pile on the floor. All I have to do is unequip. I open my arms, and she lays on my chest as I wrap on around her and leave the other at my side. Sally and I relax, and the stress of the last day is finally leaving me. We're done, in the city of James, that is. There are even more things coming, and they're complicated quests. I'm happy that I was able to share information about my status as a player with Sally. Teaching her why new people are different. The trip is going to take 3 days at max speeds. The Elven Kingdom is very far away. We should get some actual food before we leave. I don't mind hunting and cooking over the campfire. The only problem with that is I'm not a chef. So the food turns out pretty bad. It still fills you up, but other than that, it's a boring taste and hard to get down. Sally doesn't respond, and I take her silence as a sign of no more talking. I don't have a problem with that. There are things we can discuss tomorrow after we get up. I stare up at the ceiling, and I feel the weight of sleep coming down on me. My mental exhaustion has reached a level that makes me lethargic, but I'm getting some sleep. When stress constantly piles on over and over, it makes needing proper rest essential. My tired thoughts drift to Haley. She's probably already left the city and is on her way back to her friend Jasmine. She might have done the thing I'm planning to do and grabbed supplies before she left. Haley has come so far in her power, more than I ever thought. Going out on her own was the best thing that happened to her. Giving her a push in the right direction helped, but after that, Haley made her own choices, and now she's succeeding from it. After a few minutes of wandering thoughts, I fall asleep with Sally on my chest. While Sarah and Sally sleep at the now empty inn, Haley is just leaving the last shop she needs supplies from. Haley, in fact, did what Sarah plans to do. She's gotten the food for the journey and is heading for the city's exit. She had a hard time getting out of the crowd around the inn, but the soldiers helped her get past. There weren't any sick when she looked at them, only people waiting to see her brother. That's something she has to deal with from time to time. When her identity is revealed, trouble comes. She is a legendary class wielder, after all. I walk down the empty streets in the darkness, and Emerald is purring on my shoulder. Jasmine is going to be happy with the news of putting all the things happening here to an end. She's going to be surprised to learn that Slayer Zirn is my brother. I have yet to tell her that my little brother is the center of most of the attention from the church. Jasmine is a devoted follower of the Archangel Gabriel. Once she meets my brother, she's going to freak. In this world, he's a part of the divinity. I know that he doesn't like the attention. It's who he is. I pet Emerald as she rubs her head against my cheek. She's grown a little in the last few days. She's gotten a tad heavier. I can feel the difference. My thoughts focus on the undertaking that is ahead of me. Taking Jasmine on such a dangerous mission isn't my first choice, but she is strong. Jasmine and I will make a side stop on the way to the southern border of the Elven Kingdom. There are rumors of a powerful dungeon about a day's trip from Jasmine's town. Supposedly, it has a powerful class in it. That class is going to Jasmine. No one has been able to clear it, and it's taken many levels from players. I see the gate up ahead, and I calmly walk through it and see the long line from before is even longer now. I walk down the path and look at the many people waiting in line. Some of them are very sick or weak looking. Farmers must have heard that Sarah is here and hope to get into the city before he leaves. A burden of having the power Sarah does. I heard rumors that he's healed people in cities he's stopped it. After what I saw, they're true. He's making the burden he carries worse. Having that much power comes with many responsibilities. One of them being the needs of others. The desperate and sick will beg for all they're worth, and he won't be able to get them all. That's going to end up weighing on him. He knows that he can't save everyone, but that doesn't make things any easier. Purr. Emerald's deep purrs and constant cuddling pull me out of my thoughts. I chuckle and continue petting her. It's been fun to see Sarah, and I'm glad that we're reuniting again soon. Sally is one of a kind. I've never met a girl like her, so much will and love. An openness in her heart despite all the suffering she's been through. She told me some, and I had to stop her cause I couldn't bear to continue listening. She said that Sarah knows all about her past and the horrible things done to her. Most men would keep away from women who's been through so much, but Sarah has proved different. In some way, they're meant for each other. Sarah has many secrets he hasn't told me. Suffering that hidden, same as Sally. The pain and experiences aren't the same, but having them has somehow created a bond. It's something that I can only see in them. Mom and Dad will have a lot of questions when they meet Sally, and most of them will be coming from Mom. She's going to have to give her stamp of approval before she allows her favorite to be with someone she doesn't approve of. I look up to the stars and walk slowly on the clear path. This is all hypothetical. We may never see Mom and Dad again, Marcus too. It's a big world out there, and we have no idea where they're at. As the night passes and Haley continues her journey, people desperately try to get into the city. Anyone nearby has left their homes with their sick and injured people from towns and cities all over the kingdom of Pleer. The guards are having to reinforce the gates with troops and keep the people at bay. Mothers and fathers are on the edge of fighting to get into the city. They know this is going to be their one chance to save their children or their sick parents. The night passes, and the sun begins to rise, along with the chaos brewing outside the city. People finally break through. I sit up as we've already slept in for an hour, but the main reason we haven't slept in longer is because of the noise outside. People are arguing and shouting. I feel Sally wrap her arm around my torso and try to bring me back to bed. I look at her mocha white skin and the special smell I get from her. I pinch the bridge of my nose and clear my thoughts. Looks like the people outside have different ideas about us sleeping in. I groggily talk in a dry voice. Sally only groans in protest. I'd think she'd be ready to leave the city as soon as possible. It's not like that now, but knowing her, she's putting on a strong front. Can't you tell them to go away? We need our sleep too. She begins to talk in a very quiet voice. I smile and run my fingers through her hair. Her long blonde hair, it's silky and easy to move through. I stop and move to get out of bed. Ugh, they can't leave you alone. It sucks that this happens every time you reveal your identity anywhere. She angrily lets out her opinion in a frustrated voice. I stand up from the bed and equip all my armor. I look at her and smile. Time to help some more people. Chapter 280, Clear Skies. Sally and I walk towards the exit after spending an hour healing people and picking up supplies for the trip. A crowd of people is following us. Sally has her hood up. I don't. There is no need for one at the moment. The guards up ahead at the gate see me coming and move out of the way. As I walk through the gate, I look at the long line still trying to get into the city. Before anyone else can come up and ask, I toggle my wings on, and I let Sally climb on my back. I flex my wings and launch off the ground, sending people tumbling back as I do. I reach the clouds and flap my wings hard. I adjust to the direction that I need to be in. The fresh air and clear blue skies clear my head. I take some time to admire the passing scenery below and the rolling hills and forests as we cover distances at high speeds. Gaia is enormous and thought to be a limitless world ever expanding thanks to magic. Exploring all of it is impossible, but that won't stop people from trying. There is something that has been on my mind as of late: the Dice of Wayland. I still lack information on it. Even though I'm carrying it around in my inventory, I haven't forgotten about the artifact, and I intend to learn more about it. I feel bad for leaving those people. I can't imagine how hard it must be on you. Sally talks into my ear, and her words bring up a subject I don't like to talk about. I can't heal everyone, save everyone. I'm only a single person. My abilities can't reach across all of Gaia. She's waiting for a response, wanting to know how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking about this sore subject. I know they aren't my responsibility. When you have powers and gifts like mine, you feel almost obligated to help. I pity them. Sally's so desperate for the power of another. It reminds me of something I wish to forget. They remind me of me. I was so desperate for power and the chance to change the future. It was pathetic. I couldn't live with reality, cope with it. So I committed a grave act. I changed the future by going back into the past. I stole someone else's power. Blue Chaos is likely dead because of this. I stole another player's weapon. Pesticide was supposed to get the witness, not me. In a sense, I was like them. Except I took the next step and stole what others had. Something that gave me what I needed but also branded me as a thief. No one will know this, not anytime soon. However, knowing the truth myself brings shame. The city of James used to be far worse when I was a slave there. To me, it's improved greatly, and I hope under the leadership of Kelly, it continues to grow. Sally sees the good because that's who she is. She can see the change cause she was there when it was terrible. I can learn a lot from her. Learn to move away from the past. My actions have consequences. Ones that I'll have to pay for one day, just as the James family. When have a long journey ahead of us, and it will be the first time either of us sees the Elven Kingdom. I know that you don't want to talk about it, so I won't push anything. But if you need to let some things out, I'm here. Sally is going to have a hard time there. After all the things that have been revealed, it's hard to suppress the desire not to charge into the capital and cut the heads of the royal family. We need them alive long enough to answer our questions, though. Sally kisses the side of my head, and I flap my wings hard again. I'm feeling a cold rage inside, one I've never felt before. They took everything from me. I know it's wrong to want to kill someone, but I can't help feeling that I'll enjoy driving my blade through them. Sally is starting to develop a dangerous habit. Bloodlust, one that I'm all too familiar with. Something I still have. Bloodlust is evil to many, but I think used in the correct way can really help the world. Sally is doing just that. Focusing her bloodlust on terrible people. Ones who have done her and others harm. We've done what we've come here for, at least for now. We'll have to come back this way for the fighting the disease quest, but that's something that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Doing these quests for Sally is more important right now. I glide at high speeds and notice that Sally is humming in my ear. I'm not going to say anything. Enjoying it is what I want to do. The melody is calming and filled with many emotions. I can feel her love, hate, joy, sorrow. Her voice is wonderful, and it takes my mind off all my problems. As Sarah and Sally travel towards their destination, the armies of Zenith and the Dryads are meeting up for the first time. The war against the Belvia kingdom is going to commence soon. All the leaders are gathering to discuss where to strike first. A massive tent is made at the location of the gathered armies, one filled with officers and important personnel. The armies have a combined strength of 700,000 soldiers. The majority of them coming from the Zenith Kingdom. The Dryads are still replenishing their forces. Jackson is talking directly with Queen Eleanor. Eleanor's beauty transcends what's been said. I sit across from her, and we are watched from all directions. The massive tent is filled with our officers and leaders. There is no hostility or a sense of awkwardness. Not between our troops or us. Instead, there is a sense of camaraderie, one created by the mutual hate we all share with Belvia. The same desire to see it pay for its past and present crimes. It's nice to finally meet you in person, Queen Eleanor. I'm sad that war was the first time we meet in person, but I'm confident in saying neither of us really mind. She smiles and nods her head. There is a steady silence. One that everyone knows will be broken with the discussions of war. The first thing I want to say is the horn of the forest is ready to be used. My soldiers are ready for battle, and our healers are ready to take care of any wounded. You're much more experienced as a leader, King Jackson. I'm not going to let my inexperience get in the way of this war. I'll follow your lead and learn as much as I can in the process. She's going to be an amazing queen. Her desire to gain knowledge in the art of war is there, and she's smart on how to gain that knowledge. I can only hope that my children will end up being as wise as her, but that's a few years down the road. I appreciate that, Queen Eleanor. I'll do my best to spare as many lives for both our armies. We've brought artillery and modern magicians, as well as a substantial amount of troops. Let us bring this war to a swift end. Belvia isn't going to take the war lying down. It's going to struggle and take as many lives with it before it falls. Both from our side and its own. The first thing we need to discuss is our target for the beginning of the war. She nods her head in agreement. A massive map is rolled along the giant table our generals, and we surround. It's a map of Belvia and all its land. The main target for the beginning of this war is taking out their supply network. We want to choke the armies of food and water before we actually battle. To do this, we need to secure these 8 trading routes and these 4 ports. I circle different parts of the map. They'll be heavily defended due to how valuable they are for the war. If we can take these, we'll have a substantial advantage in the war. I finish the opening topic, and conversations begin. Generals are communicating to others on who should move where. This is the beauty of a chain of command. I can issue the order, and the officers under me will discuss and plan around this order and how to accomplish it. Soon, the generals on the Dryad side begin talking with mine. It's excellent to see both sides communicating. I look at Queen Eleanor, and she nods her head with a look of gratitude. This war will only strengthen our bond with the Dryads.